well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the main focus of America's Second Amendment rights. One of the most controversial topics for years has been gun control across America. There are many arguments on whether to put more restrictions or limit the sales or import of firearms across America. This can usually spiral into heated political debate that goes into very detailed arguments. I would just like to scratch the surface and share some basic details on the debate and simple facts on why restrictions of firearms violate America's Second Amendment rights and how they are not necessary to use to try to limit crime in America. Firearms are generally classified into three types: handguns, rifles, shotguns. Rifles and shotguns are considered long-range rifles due to firing them at long range for better accuracy, and they're typically more violent and loud than their partner handguns. Handguns, on the other hand, are usually kept on your person. They can be stored away somewhere. They're used for self-defense and also for recreational shooting. A semi-automatic weapon you may have heard of is a weapon that is fired one bullet with one pull of the trigger and then reloads. One pull of the trigger, only fire one bullet only, and then you have to release and pull again to fire another. A fully automatic firearm is a firearm that you pull and hold the trigger down, and it will fire multiple bullets until the trigger is released. These are the type of firearms that are most wanted for restrictions and limit of sales. In America today, a lot of states do not allow these type of firearms to be used. Florida is one of them. According to justfacts.com, as of 2009, the United States had a population of 307 million people. Based on production data that JustFacts pulled from manufacturing companies, there were roughly 300 million firearms owned by civilians in the United States as of 2010. This does not mean that 300 out of 307 million people own firearms. There were just 300 million firearms circulating legally in the United States at this time, and about 100 million of those were handguns. Now, one side of the argument, which is usually the more liberal side, or the opposing side of my argument, are basically the guns in America are too dangerous and now need to have more restrictions when it comes to buying and modifying firearms. There's no doubt that guns are dangerous, and they're not a joking matter. It's a simple statistic: roughly 1,100 murders with a firearm were committed in the United States during the year 2008. But limiting just the sales and distributions of firearms will not make these crimes go away. It's a common misconception when dealing with this argument, this topic. Civilians do a pretty good job of preventing crime with these guns rather than committing these crimes. Based on a survey data from a 2000 study in the Journal of Quantitative Criminology, U.S. civilians use guns to defend themselves or others at least 990,000 times a year. That's 990,000 times a year to defend themselves rather than use them for a crime. Another survey from the U.S. Department of Justice said that about 5,340,000 violent crimes were committed in the U.S. During 2008. This included, simple aggravated assault, rape, murder, larceny, theft that were violent, robberies, all these things. Only about 8% of those 5,340,000 were committed by offenders that were visually seen armed with a gun. And what does all this mean? Well, it means that violent crimes committed with guns in America is few and far between. Creating such drastic laws on modifying and distributing firearms is not necessary, and it's also unconstitutional. Completely cutting off the import of guns will not help either. One of the arguments that are frequently used is that there's too many guns in America and they're too easily available. Another argument that I could use to oppose that would be there's too many drugs in America, illegal drugs, and they're too easily available. You could walk down to any local, high school or even college campus, find almost any drug that you would like. Drugs like cocaine and methamphetamines were made illegal from the get-go. They were illegal right off the bat, could not use them, or you would get in trouble. And they are still widely used across America. They're still illegally imported, illegally used, illegally sold. So if you're trying to limit the import and sales of firearms in America, something that people have used since the creation of our country, it's going to cause a lot of controversy because this is something people are used to having and you're taking it away from them rather than something that was just illegal from the beginning. So, and there's nothing that's going to stop people from illegally importing guns, just like people illegally importing drugs, illegally selling them. It's not going to stop just because you ban the import of firearms. They're still going to make their way into the country. Another major topic in gun control is concealed weapons. Concealed weapon is a weapon that you will hide or have hidden on your person or in your surrounding area that you are able to use. Trying to put more restrictions on this is not going to work. It goes back to the same drug laws. If you see somebody walking down the street, you cannot tell that person has a bag of heroin in their pocket. If you see somebody walking down the street, you can't tell if they have a handgun in their pocket. You will not know until they are stopped by the cops and searched. So it's the same thing. It's still going to happen if you try to put restrictions on them. According to website uscarry.com, 39 states have the right to carry laws in effect right now. One of those being Florida. The right to carry laws have actually shown that having a weapon and you being able to use it is preventing crimes from happening in that state. Again, perfect example, Florida. According to Florida State University's law on concealed weapons, on October 1st, 1987, Florida's right to carry law was put into effect. The graph from justfacts.com right here shows that the crime in Florida actually dropped dramatically when this came into effect, and also the crime in the US dropped. So, shows that when criminals know that in the state that they are in, people are allowed to carry a concealed weapon, this will deter them from committing a crime. It goes back to the simple criminology theory of rational choice. The risk outweighs the reward. All in all, these speculations and arguments on creating a safer America, starting with gun control, is false. Guns will always be part of free American culture. They'll always be part of our Constitution and our Second Amendment rights. Trying to limit them and put restrictions on them just won't hold water. It's going to piss a lot of people off, and it's going to come back to haunt us, I feel. Thank you.